Don't make this mistake in 2026 with your budget. In this video, I want to help you know how to make a sustainable budget that actually works and that you can actually keep. So we're going to talk through 3 of the most common mistakes I see women make when it comes to budgeting. And I want to give you some ideas of how to make a budget that you'll actually stick with this year. The first mistake that I often see when it comes to creating a budget is that we often think January is the best and only time to create a budget. But that's just not true. In fact, January may be the hardest month to create a budget you'll actually stick with. Why? Well, think about when you're making a budget, you usually look at the previous few months in order to set a budget for the upcoming month. What were the previous months leading up to January? They're the holiday season, right? Where your spending is a little out of the norm and the activities are greater, the festivities. So you can't necessarily base your upcoming budget for the new year on your previous few months' spending. So, what I recommend is in January, don't plan your budget. In January, take inventory. When I say take inventory, that means it's the perfect time to stop and look at what are your family's needs in this season? What do you know you have on the calendar? And then it's the best time to set goals, to start vision casting for your family. What are the things that are important to you this year? Where do you want to see yourself in the next few months? Allow January to be that goal setting, vision casting month, but not necessarily your budgeting month. And that way, when you put those numbers in, whether it's in February or March, you'll have a better grasp on what a realistic month of spending is like for your family. And when it's realistic, that means that you're more able to keep it. Listen, before I go any further, I want to make sure that I mention I have a free download I've created for you called 7 Do's and Don'ts with Your Time and Money in the New Year, just to help you out. Be sure to grab it. It'll help walk through some of these things so you don't have to take notes the whole way through. Be sure to check it out below. The next mistake I see a lot of women make when it comes to creating a budget that they really want to keep is that sometimes we take an all or nothing approach. So if you're setting a budget in the new year, sometimes we look at all the things that we did wrong the previous year, or we start paying our bills in January and the alarms are going off. Like, what have I done? I've completely failed. Maybe you've already set a budget and you're at the end of January and you think, I should probably just give up now because I can't keep a real budget. Things happen, unexpected, events happen, and you want to quit before you've actually started. And so what I see happen is that sometimes we take an all or nothing approach, almost like a diet with our food, right? Is that you've had all this sugar at the holidays, and so now it's January, it's dry January, and you're going to work out every single day, but that may not be realistic. And so we create this idealized version of what our budget should look like, what our body should look like, what wellness should look like in the new year. And so the mistake we can make is going from all to nothing. And that can be detrimental, especially when it comes to our finances, because the bottom line is it's probably going to be very challenging for you to say, I'm not eating out at all during the month of January, or I'm not buying one thing the month of January. Well, what happens is sometimes we need to buy something in January and a need comes up, or sometimes there is a night where you're running kids somewhere and you need to stop through and get them a meal because you've run out of time. So rather than limit yourself so much to this all or nothing approach, in order to keep a more sustainable budget for you this year, think about allowing yourself some margin and some room for those unexpected events, and you'll be much more likely to keep it. Lastly, a common mistake I see for women, especially as we are making our budget, is that we're not basing our budget on our actual financial situation. As women, it's very easy to compare our lives to other people's lives, right? We see Instagram, we're doing the scroll, we know spring break's coming, we know what so-and-so's doing for their spring break. we are comparing to our friends, we're comparing to people and honestly strangers that we don't even know of what their lives look like and what our life should look like then. But what we don't know is what their budget is. We don't know what their financial situation is. And so often we plan a trip or we plan sports activities or we plan to go out and eat out without actually taking inventory of what our situation is. And so what we're doing is we're forming expectations for our budget based on someone else's financial reality. And that's dangerous because it's going to leave you feeling discouraged. And so one of two things happens. You go and you do all the things that other people are doing because you want to keep up, and they're good things. But what happens then is it just adds more guilt or shame or stress because it really wasn't based off what your budget is for the year. And so the best thing to do is, rather than plan your trips around what other people are doing or your goals for your family around what you see others doing, stop first and start with your resources. What has God given you and your family this year to steward and to manage? Not what other people have, not what they're doing. Stop and then talk about it, either with your children, with a partner, with your spouse. Talk about what are your goals this year, and then base your budget off of your financial situation and your goals, your priorities. And that way, when spring break comes, when summer comes, and let's say a trip was on your priority list, then you have full freedom because you've planned, you've set that aside, you knew this was the priority. We've said no to some other things so that we could say yes to this really fun thing. And it's not based off someone else's budget or expectations, it's based off of what God has actually given you. That is going to be a huge catalyst in helping you create a budget that you're going to keep. And listen, it also will help you still enjoy life. And that's the key. We want to make it realistic. It doesn't need to be an idolized approach or an all or nothing approach. We know a budget isn't only able to be started and kept in January, right? And we also want to make sure it reflects our own family and not someone else's family. And I think you'll be amazed at how this year you can still enjoy your life, but still have a budget that you will keep. If this has been helpful for you, I'm so thankful. Subscribe below so that you don't miss anything, and be sure to grab that free download I mentioned at the very beginning, the 7 do's and don'ts with your time and money for the new year. And listen, come back, let's stay connected. I truly want to help you overcome money obstacles so that you can enjoy this one life that God has given you.